guy with a bow tie in Chattanooga, Tennessee, David Toulis.
Dwain Land is the mayor of Dunlap, Tennessee, and if you have been a reader at Nuganomics.com and a subscriber to this free, wonderful deep state review with its very positive argument for the future, you will know that Mr. Land is the official who hounded, on the basis of a municipal need, the elderly couple, the Gaddys, Thomas and Carol Gaddy, live on Main Street at the little crook there in Coops Creek, about a carbine shot from City Hall. And a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, Mayor Land stood on the edge of their property and said, this house needs to come down. It is a public menace, or we will search the house and let it stand. And that was the basis of the beginning of a long fight full of legal mistakes by the city, just blunder after blunder by the city government, working the will of the individual man, Dwain Land, who has, by all reports, a kind of imperial strength, highly regarded, widely respected in that county. He's a landlord of dozens and dozens of somewhat rundown, ramshackle trailer homes and other places that serves a very vital part of that local economy there. That is to say, poor people. He has many poor tenants. And when I went up there prior to his election bid, or in the middle of his election bid, the ones I interviewed spoke very highly of Dwain Land. So here we have a man who serves the lower end of the housing market, going after owners of a very nice house built by a judge after the war to prevent Southern independence there by the creek. And the reason for the demand to search or inspect this house was not clear, was never really known what the reason was. But the mayor said, well, it's either coming down or we're coming in. One or the other, let us in, or it's coming down. And this case was just an exaggerated, an amazing account of municipal necessity, apart from any law, right? There's no law that lets the city government do that. The only grounds for anybody inspecting your property or searching it is a probable cause or a warrant. Now, a probable cause might arrive. Let's say a mass murderer is fleeing down Main Street. It pulls over into the Gaddy parking area, rushes into the house to take refuge. Well, in that case, the officers, in the heat of the chase, as it's called, can come in without a warrant because there's human health, human safety in view, and we can't not get him. We've gone this far. We got to get our guy. So there's a rationale there, or a judge saying, well, we believe that there is evidence of a crime by this senior couple. She is a former real estate maven. I think he is a kind of a contractor, and we're going to search that house. So those are reasons for a search. But there's no such thing as municipal necessity for search. It just doesn't exist. And in the course of covering this story, I did have a chance to read some court cases that made that point. Even if you're in public housing, there are rights you have as the owner of the castle, right? The castle doctrine has been taken down in many areas by the lawyers on the court. That's what they are. They're all just lawyers on the Supreme Court and courts of appeal. And so our rights have been diminished in many ways by this gang, if you will. But many protections are still there. And so Dwain Land sought to overwhelm those protections possessed by the Gaddys. Well, he's imperious in that way, perhaps, but also in dealings with a man named Shawn Cordell. Shawn Cordell worked in the Dunlap city government for some time and filed a lawsuit a few days ago against the mayor for firing him 6 days after the election proceedings in that town, which took place on a Saturday, oddly enough, May 6, 2017. And that Thursday of that next week, the plaintiff's employment was terminated by the defendants falsely claiming that plaintiff was, quote, unable to work well with co-employees. So that was the rationale Dwain Land gave, apparently is cited in the complaint by Shawn Cordell. Shawn Cordell in Sequatchie County. The city is the defendant, and the mayor is a citizen and resident of the county. And he is also, I'm not sure if the mayor is there in personal capacity, but it's they were acting under color of law so as to subject them to the provisions of Title 42 U.S. 1983, and that is a matter of oppression, if I'm recalling the numbers correctly. Is oppressive act. So Shawn was supporting a rival, Rhonda Summers, and she is a relation of Shawn Cordell. Plaintiff spoke with Dwain Land before the election about Rhonda Summers running for mayor. Plaintiff made it known to Dwain Land that as an employee of the city of Dunlap, plaintiff would not be participating in any campaign activities while at work. Okay, that's part of the complaint here. Dwain Land assured plaintiff that he would not seek reprisal for the contested mayoral race. So the plaintiff's wife also spoke with the mayor before the election to make sure that her sister's running for mayor would not have an adverse effect on her husband's job. I don't know that I would want my wife to do that on my behalf, but here it is a matter of the record in this complaint that Shawn's wife, Mrs. Cordell, talked with the mayor also, saying, well, I hope you realize that my husband's done a good job for the city, and you won't do anything against him, will you, if you win re-election? So evidently the mayor assured her that no, he was a very fair man and he would not do such a thing. In the months leading up to the election, plaintiff campaigned publicly on behalf of Rhonda Summers, hosting campaign events, speaking with potential voters about the election. On the day of the election, as well as early voting, plaintiff accompanied Rhonda Summers to voting precincts. So here we have a city's employee, Shawn Cordell, imprudent, there, espied by Dwain Land for taking the wrong side. So the mayor's reelected on balloting May 6th, and on May 11, after the state reports were due, this complaint says, filed by Davis Kessler Davis, plaintiff's employment was terminated by the defendant falsely claiming that he was unable to work well with others. So it's called retaliation for engagement in constitutionally protected speech. So that is just something to just based, character sketch, right? Character sketch of a man in office. There's something to say for bigness, open-mindedness, fair play, respect for others. There are just because someone's on the other side doesn't mean that he's evil or wrong or to be destroyed or in some way injured, right? You just accept the fact that people have different perspectives, and maybe you're having been the mayor and having hounded Thomas and Carol Gaddy is reason for you to do something else, right? You are a landlord, property owner in that city. Why not do something else, Dwain? Save yourself the trouble and the headache of being the mayor. Look at all the hoopla that you and Stephen Greer, the city attorney, were involved in. Look at all the abuse of the law, the abuse of the Constitution that you personally were engaged in, harassing the Gaddys, and finally coming to a settlement that was only reasonable, and that was to have an engineer, a non-city employee, make an inspection of the house. And that was one, guess what, paid for by the Gaddys, paid for by that couple, no doubt several $100s to have the engineer from another part of Tennessee come to Dunlap and inspect the house and give it a 100% clean bill of health, structurally sound, and in very good shape after many years of slow remodeling, within the budget by the Gaddys. David Tool is here. The number is 800-8949, 800-8949. Looking at the menu, by the way, of Olive Branch Mediterranean food here in East Ridge. Sauteed chicken livers is the special today. Stickless chicken savlaki and pork tenderloin, Greek lemon chicken, and the vegetarian dish is spinach and rice. And of course, there's salad. This is a great little. It's a deli and market in under the same roof. Olive Branch Mediterranean Foods, right here in East Ridge. The name is David Toulis, and I'm trying to figure out what to get to first on the show, and I do appreciate your giving me just a couple minutes of your time. We are live on Facebook at Nougat Radio, and also live on YouTube. If you have a late model TV, why don't you just turn on your dial and look back in the guts there, the digital screens in the back, and find the YouTube channel. That's the internet channel. Your television, either through Wi-Fi or through a direct connection, will pick up YouTube, and you can watch me and see what shirt I'm wearing. Check out my jacket. I am wearing a new blue blazer, the exact same one that I wore to a frazzle, and which my wife Jeanette ordered, and you can't tell the difference. But you look at this morning when I was looking to see which jacket I had to grab, I did the short thing. I pulled up the sleeve cuff and saw the one that had no frayed edge on a very violently frayed edge on the cuff. That was the new one. Okay. And then, so I have it on. You really can't tell by just looking at the YouTube screen, but we are live on YouTube at Nougat Radio. And the number to call to get on the show is 800-8949, 800-8949. And I want to say something about zoning. And that is because and I've been looking at also at Title 55, the Tennessee Code Annotated Transportation Statute, and looking at where it is. We're looking at how it is that a person who is a licensee is vulnerable to obey the statute. If you're involved in transportation, the transportation law covers you. And also looking to see what happens if there's an accident. If there's an accident and you're charged, well, all kinds of things happen to your standing before the state and its Department of Safety and Homeland Security, which is the issuer of license, which is a privilege of given to all those people involved in commercial activity on the road. So whatever classification of license you have, you are presumptively involved in a commercial activity. That's why we have that department, to protect the people and to regulate in the public interest the for-profit, capitalistic, entrepreneurial, profit-seeking use of the public right-of-way, right? There's a reason for this regulation, and that is so that cabbies, that people who are involved in transporting the injured, ambulance services, dump truck operators, people who run cement mixers across the highways, those who rent straight-bodied trucks for movers themselves, and they're 2 men in a truck. That truck is involved in transportation, so it has a U.S. DOT number on it, bound to obey the federal code at Title 49, and also the Tennessee Code at Title 55. So these are commercial uses. And so I've been looking in the law this morning about people who are involved in a car crash. If you're involved in a car crash and kill someone, does that affect your standing as a licensee? What if you're in a DUI and kill someone? Can you walk away from that crash without it affecting your driver license under Title 55? Now, it might not affect your driver license under Title 55 if you're involved in travel, and then you kill someone. Well, the state has to figure out how to charge you under some other provision if you're not involved in Title 55. But if you're in Title 55 as a licensee and a driver, well, the rules are pretty exhaustive. It just goes on and on. And I've got my well-marked copy here, as you can see, of this title in Tennessee. And I'm at 10-114 and looking at what happens when you are involved in an accident. And I've got the Whaley case here, looking up what happens there. If you are arrested, you must be taken before a magistrate. And there are some provisions there that you might want to know about. If you are ever arrested, you should demand to see a magistrate. Okay, don't let them book you. Do not let the state book you apart from a judicial review of the arrest, and that can be done only judicially, meaning only by a magistrate who is a judge. And we've had here in Hamilton County stories on the news cycle about a magistrate who just wasn't getting the job description down, and was having various slip-ups, and there was an effort to fire him, but he was kept on. That's the job we're talking about, right? And that's the man who's effectively in the jail night and day, 24/7, he or his colleagues, and they provide the judicial oversight of the executive branch activity. The executive branch, of course, would be the governor or the mayor, right, or the county executive. They have their executive functions. That would be the sheriff in the county, Jim Coppinger, reelected, and in the city, Mayor Burke. In East Ridge, that's Mayor Lambert. These are all executive functions, and the police department departments serve them. Okay, so these are under the statute. So if you're under the statute, then the statute controls. If you're not, well, then and you kill someone as a DUI defendant or future defendant, right? If charges are pending, right? Well, what we have the story out of Saudi Daisy. That's just I'm shaking my head. I'm shaking my head, wanting to know what has happened. A man killed, James Brumlow, family man, works at a large factory north of Chattanooga, Saudi Daisy, killed going to work by a wrong way driver. So what happened? Why has no one been charged? Chief Jeff Gann of Saudi Daisy in charge more than a month ago now. And the question I have is public safety. Okay, we have this pretended public safety interest by or of the licensing machinery, right? We license people to make them safe, right? We want to have safe streets, and we want to have, of course, the surveillance of that document, the magical card, right? The magical plastic. And so, well, what happens when you have a licensee, presumptively a licensee, involved in a fatal crash? But now, and there's a question there that we need to settle. And I was talking a few days ago with some people at a homeless shelter, and I raised the question about their work, and I said, well, why are there people who are homeless? And no one could quite say the following, that, well, they're homeless because they can't afford anything that's available. And then my question to them was, well, how come there are no houses or apartment rentals suitable for their income? And I think they didn't really know where I was going with that. But the answer that I would have given if I had been one of them would have been, well, they really have zero income. They can't afford any rent at all. So now the question is, okay, is there a housing market that can be serviceable to people at the very bottom, to people who have zero income? And if they have any trading or accumulation of goods, it's by scavenging or secondhand or or very small scale use of cash. That's begging. Begging gives you some. Though panhandling is illegal in Chattanooga now, thanks to the city council, Darren Ledford and the other conservatives, and even people on the left. I think Carol Burrs, progressive, did not agree to the First Amendment protected speech of begging. We have it illegal. So poor people have to somehow get cash flow apart from panhandling, apart from asking for alms, if you will. How are they served? Well, the idea that we have a bottom of the market that doesn't exist is a valid idea. Okay. 800-8949, 800-8949. And how is it that bottom of the market is not allowed to exist? Well, the reason is regulation. Regulation makes it impossible for there to be a bottom of the market. And I have provided a solution, and the rubric, if you will, on the David Tooley Show is this: my shantytown is your shantytown is my housing free trade zone. It is a free trade zone in housing that I'm proposing, and I would like a mayoral candidate, maybe someone like Chris Long, who had a similar idea in mind as he sought to unseat Mayor Andy Burke. Chris Long had a similar concept and had done some legwork on the idea, more than I had, and that would be an encampment, somewhat like the one that was on East 11th Street that was bumped. Everyone was bumped off that property under a presumptive threat of PCPs and like in the industrial waste in the ground itself there, where these people put their tents and stretched out sometimes in the on blankets and things, plastic bags to rest homeless people. Now, the problem of zoning and the problem of regulation of property is marked and is a cause of stagnation. East Ridge is stagnant because it is under rules that I've not examined, but there are ones that affect New Brunswick, New Jersey. And I want to mention Nolan Gray and Austin Maitland had a great little essay in stronghands.org, how zoning is holding the neighborhood back. And if I'm not, you call me and interrupt me, but if I have a chance, I want to tell you a little bit about what's in this essay and why we need to bring an end entirely to interventions in the zoning market. David Toulis, 800-8949.
3, 2, 1.
Chattanooga Radio. Digital FM 95.3 HD4. 92.7 FM's news now.
A stolen tractor trailer rams a patrol car and officers open fire. This according to the Ringgold PD. Police Chief Dan Milbury telling the press the vehicle was involved in a traffic stop because it was reported stolen.